Hi, I'm Willow, and I'm here to talk about a little bit of a complex topic that I've talked about in previous videos, but I think this bears repeating. So, I am here to talk about the relationship between electromagnetic radiation exposure and Candida flares. And this is a connection that is not as widely known out there as, say, the connection between diet and Candida flares. Okay, so I'm just here to put this information out there that I have learned the hard way in my life. So basically, there is a growing body of research that shows electromagnetic radiation exposure causes yeast, mold, and fungi to grow more. Okay, so to grow more abundantly. And this research has also shown that mold in particular is many times more toxic when it is growing from because of an electromagnetic radiation source. Okay, so mold has been shown to produce 600 times more biotoxins if it is exposed to electromagnetic radiation. Okay, and so this is information that people need to know as the 5G rollout continues, right? Because the 5G rollout, the 5G wireless technology rollout, is exposing us to unprecedented levels of electromagnetic radiation. Not only the 5G rollout, but actually just the addictions to wireless devices that we're experiencing, right? So, for example, I'm a pedestrian, I'm a non-driver, and when I take the city bus, I have to be very, very careful because I am often surrounded. If the bus is full, I might be surrounded by 50 wireless devices, right? Everybody but me has a smartphone that they're on, and nowadays people also have AirPods, which are tremendously dangerous, you guys. Tremendously dangerous. You are frying your brains and your heads and your ears and everything with these AirPods. And not only that, but you're frying the people all around you as well. Okay. So the danger related to wireless devices is definitely not out there in a widespread sort of way. And people will scoff at you if you mention that. But I'm an electromagnetically sensitive person, so I feel electromagnetic radiation, and I can tell when my exposures are getting too high because I will have symptoms, right? I'll have symptoms like number one, fatigue. So it's just literally like an energy drain, like your energy is being drained like a battery. Okay, that's the effect EMF has on energy levels. But also headaches, heart palpitations, heaviness in my chest, tingling in my hands and feet. What else? Insomnia, anxiety, all kinds of things happen when I'm exposed to EMF. So basically, I'm a canary in the coal mine, and all electromagnetically sensitive people are canaries in the coal mine, because what affects us immediately, what sort of harms us immediately, is harming other people on a longer timeline, okay, over a longer period of time. And it may take longer for symptoms to show up, but that doesn't mean that the levels that people are being exposed to are in any way safe, because they are not. Okay, so basically the way I figured out this kind of semi-obscure connection between electromagnetic radiation exposure and Candida was that I used to work at a college in an on-call capacity, and one of the jobs that I did was invigilating exams in the gym, so midterms and finals. And what happened in December 2019 was that I had a longer stint of work than I was used to. I had a full week and a half where I was invigilating exams in the gym. And where the invigilator's desk was right where the students left their backpacks, okay? So I was sitting amongst about 200 backpacks. And of course, each one of those backpacks had a smartphone in it. Some of them probably had AirPods in them. I don't know. But what I noticed over the course of the week and a half was that I just gradually started feeling my energy draining. I caught a cold, which is not normal for me. I don't normally I don't often catch colds, let's say. So this was something that I was noticing related to the EMF exposure. Okay, and then a few days after I finished that stint of work, I had the worst Candida flare I have ever had in my entire life. It was literal torture. And I'd never experienced anything like this before. Now, I will say, I am a person who was permanently debilitated and injured by a fluoroquinolone antibiotic called Cipro. Okay, so I took 3 pills of Cipro and I was systemically poisoned from that point on. And it's been about 12, 13 years since that initial poisoning happened. Okay. So Candida flares are often seen in people who have been injured by antibiotics, okay? Because the antibiotic damages the digestive system, it kills off the good bacteria in the body, and it allows other bacteria to become pathogenic, okay? And so one of the things that becomes pathogenic is Candida, yeast, okay? So when I had this flare, it was everywhere. It was all over my eyelids to the point where I looked like I had a black eye because my eyes were so puffed out with this Candida. I had it all in my nose, on the outside of my nose, on the corners of my mouth, on my chin, all over my chest, on my elbows. It was on the back of my scalp. Where else? Yeah, just literally torturous Candida flare. And the crazy thing was that I was on a low moderate carb diet. Like, so basically I had my carbs locked down, had my sugars locked down, and there was nothing going on in my diet that would have explained this type of flare. I mean, it was just next level. Okay. And this flare lasted, I want to say 4 to 6 months. Okay. So basically I was like, at my wit's end, like what has caused this Candida flare? How do I get rid of it? I mean, I'm already on this like, low moderate carb diet. Again, as I mentioned in a previous video, it's actually dangerous for some people to go too low carb, and I'm one of those people because especially for women, if you go too low carb, you can screw up your hormones and you can actually stop menstruating. You can have problems with like temperature control in your body. So you're always cold, you're always tired. So I learned that the hard way, right? Because there's this hardcore keto craze out there where everybody's just like proselytizing about the benefits of low carb diets. But the thing is that not everyone can go on a low carb diet without health harm. Okay. And that should be just on the books. That should be, there's no one size fits all diet. Okay. That's just all there is to it. Okay. So back to the story, the Candida flare, December. So this is probably late December 2019, early January 2020. And I'm just, fighting to try to figure out what is going on. And I came across, in my research the information that EMF exposure has been shown to increase mold, right? And make mold more virulent, more toxic. And I was like, wow, that sounds exactly like what's going on with me. Okay. Then in addition to that, I found some information on the Microwaved Veterans Network site, and that is soldiers, Navy, people from the armed forces who have been exposed to microwaves and have become microwave injured during the course of their duty. Okay. And what I learned from that was that EMF exposure also liberates heavy metals in the body. So it basically makes heavy metals circulate throughout your body. And Candida can be a protective response to heavy metals in the body because Candida is produced to try to sort of capture those heavy metals before they can do any damage, right? So it's sort of like it's a protective mechanism in the body, but it goes kind of haywire because there's just, there's too much, there are too many heavy metals floating around. Okay, so basically, basic takeaway is that if you are having a Candida flare these days, right, or if you have chronic problems with Candida, the underlying problem may not be your diet, right? If you're already on a low to low moderate carb diet and you're still having all these Candida problems, there may be another underlying cause for that. Number one, it could be your EMF exposures, as I experienced being around those 200 smartphones for a week and a half. Okay. Or it could be heavy metals in your body that are, again, being liberated by the EMF exposure, and then your body produces Candida to try to trap those suckers. Okay, so long story short, torturous Candida flare. I was, just like furiously researching for months about this, and I came up with this information. Okay, so my plan of attack, number one was mitigate my own EMF exposures. Okay, so I got rid of, now number one, I don't own a cell phone, so that's a big one. I got rid of Wi-Fi. Finally, after multiple years and multiple requests of telecommunications technicians, I was asking for a wired connection for, I want to say, 6 to 8 years. And I was always told by every technician, and this is incorrect, that, oh, it's too hard. We'd have to rewire your apartment. It's too tricky to get a wired connection. No, it isn't. All you do is you plug an Ethernet cord from your computer, like your computer tower or your laptop, into the modem or wherever the router connection, whatever. I don't know what exactly it is, but you know what I'm talking about. You plug it into where the router or the modem exists. Okay, the router, I guess. That's all you have to do to get rid of wireless. Okay, so I would suggest every way that you can to remove wireless energy from your house, wireless radiation from your abode. Okay, so I got rid of the wireless, got the Ethernet connection, didn't own a cell phone. Then I started looking into EMF protection products, and the ones that work for me, now I'm not saying these will work for everyone, is this product called Shieldite. Okay, and I'll show you what it is. It's a carbon-based mineral. This is the big honkin' piece. There's also littler pieces you can get. And so these are basically put around your electromagnetic devices. I take this one with me when I'm going on the bus, or when I'm going to be walking past a cell tower, or I know that I'm going to have extra exposure. Okay, so there are many different EMF protection products. So I understand that there are many people who scoff at the idea that a carbon-based mineral like this could mitigate EMF exposures, but I will tell you, the minute I got this, I noticed my symptoms decreasing. Okay, so and that was before I had even gotten rid of Wi-Fi. So first I got a big pyramid of this stuff, and it's extremely powerful. I will tell you that. If you're a sensitive person, it may take you a few days to adjust to it. But as I say, I immediately noticed improvement when I got the Shieldite, and then getting rid of the Wi-Fi with the Ethernet connection. Things have been fine ever since. Okay, so 3 years later, as far as my home goes, things are fine. Okay, so that's number one plan of attack, is mitigate your EMF exposures. Understand that when you leave the house, right, if there's a cell tower in your neighborhood, you are getting dangerous levels of EMF exposure just by walking down the street, just by hanging out in a park, just by hanging out at your friend's house. This is the world that we're living in. If you are in a mass, if you're in a place where people are gathering en masse, like say a college or university, an office building, a stadium or a sports arena, an airport, all different places, you are being bathed in a tremendous amount of electromagnetic radiation in each of these places, right? Because say you're going to a football game and there's 10,000 people in the stands, well, you're probably going to be around 9,985 smartphones at that point, because literally people have been trained to think that they can't survive in the world without a smartphone. They can't survive without a cell phone, right? They can't survive a 3-hour football game without having that smartphone right by their side, right? So, this is kind of the socially engineered culture that we're living in. And if you're electromagnetically sensitive, there are going to be places that are just off limits to you, right? You just won't be able to risk that level of exposure. And I would say sports arenas are one of the, one of those major things. Concerts, big concerts, again, we're stadium concerts. Like I say, public transit, airplanes and airports are huge, huge exposures of EMF. Even riding the city bus or riding the train in your city, you might be exposed to just, very dangerous levels of electromagnetic radiation. So just bringing this out as issues. Okay, so that's the EMF exposure element. Which again, unfortunately, because we have this 5G rollout going on, because it requires so many more small cell installations, the levels of electromagnetic radiation that we're being exposed to are unprecedented, like exponentially higher than human beings have ever been exposed to long term, in the history of this planet, as far as we know, right? So to believe that the levels of electromagnetic radiation, which have already been shown to cause health harm at much lower doses than the government and the telecommunications industry claim are safe, to believe that this 5G rollout is not going to have any effect on our health, I think is not sane. Okay, I think it's not sane to believe that this will have no effect on our health. Okay, so second level of attack was heavy metals. Okay, so because we are inundated with heavy metals these days, we have them from multiple sources. I grew up around the oil industry. Okay, so open oil flaring, batteries, where you would smell that rotten egg gas and you just laugh as a kid because that was normal to you. Like, it was normal to smell that coming out of oil batteries. We were living around them. There was also a lot of chemical farming going on. Luckily, I grew up on a cattle ranch where my dad didn't use a lot of chemical, but surrounding farms, grain farms, were using tremendous amounts of chemical. So basically, I grew up in kind of a toxic working class area. And so I imagine I had, a fair amount of heavy metals as well as, chemical exposure. I'm chemically sensitive as well. Then, of course, we have what they are spraying on us in the air, right? So aerosols in the environment, the chemtrails, the geoengineering programs, they have been shown to be chock full of heavy metals and, barium, strontium, mercury, aluminum, all kinds of stuff, right? So we're basically, kind of inundated in not only in heavy metals, but just in chemical exposure and all kinds of things. Okay. So the thing that I found that helped me, again, I'm not saying this will help everyone, was modified citrus pectin. And so I also had to do some digging to find this because there are lots of suggestions for heavy metal removal, especially through diet. Okay, so chia seeds are removers of heavy metals, Granny Smith apples, anything with pectin in it. So apples in general, but in particular Granny Smith apples, I believe, have high pectin levels. Wild blueberries, they have to be the wild ones for some reason. That has removal. There's a lot of different products. I have recently learned that cilantro is not as much of a heavy metals remover as people have been taught that it is. I don't know, because for everyone who says yes, there's another person who says no. But modified citrus pectin has definitely helped me. The brand that I use is AOR brand. I think this is a Canadian company. And the thing I like about this is that it has no additives in it. So it doesn't have any added flavors, colors, any extra, herbal products, because I often have bad reactions to those. And so modified citrus pectin has been shown in clinical trials again to remove heavy metals through the urine. So it basically makes you pee out heavy metals, okay, and substantial levels. And then the other thing about modified citrus pectin is it just helps with detox in general. So it kind of supercharges the detoxification process. Okay, so basically it makes you pee a lot. You have to drink a lot of water when you're taking this, and yeah, it just helps to clean you out, okay? And so I know that there's people these days that claim that like detoxing is fake, it's a fraud. I don't think it is, because if our bodies, if our elimination channels are backed up and are, you know, chronically overworked, overtaxed, your body's going to store toxins, your body's going to store heavy metals, chemicals, yada yada, in your body, right? It's going to be stored to try to get rid of later, okay? And so the thing is that I do think detoxification is a real thing. And I do think that just gentle, I wouldn't suggest hardcore detoxification. Most of it can be done through diet and water, right? Cutting out certain things for a short period of time, you know, cutting out sugar, processed foods, alcohol, you know, any type of drugs, caffeine can be another thing, right? Just increasing your healthy vegetables, increasing, you know, the amount of whole foods you eat, the amount of organic foods you eat, etc. That's a huge element of detox, right? But like I say, I was in misery. I was in a state of misery with this Candida flare. Again, it lingered for months. I couldn't sleep at night because I was so itchy. I mean, it was torturous. So this is definitely one of the things that helped me, Modified Citrus Pectin, to get rid of some stuff. Now, I will say, like I said, I'm a fluoroquinolone antibiotic survivor, and I have very weird reactions to a lot of different things. I can't take a lot of herbal products. I have severe food allergies. I have to cut entire food groups out of my diet. You know, I can't drink tap water without serious symptoms, etc., right? So I have chemical sensitivities, food sensitivities, yada, yada. And I can only take a partial dose of this stuff, because otherwise the detoxification symptoms are too much, right? Like they overwhelm the system and you start feeling really sick and run down. So basically, I would suggest trying the dose that they suggest is 3 scoops, and I believe it's 5 grams per scoop, 3 separate times during the day. That is way too much for me. So I can generally do 1 scoop or 2 scoops, and the most I've ever been able to do is a 5-day stretch, and then basically, again, I just get too overloaded with the detox process. So yeah, okay, so these are basically 2 tips that it's not easy to find out there. Like, you have to do some serious digging, and you have to kind of put 2 and 2 together yourself to figure out what is going on here. But luckily for you guys, I had the horrific, hellish Candida flare for 6 months, and I did all this research, and I tried these products, and this is what's come out. So to recap, electromagnetic radiation exposure causes fungi, mold, has been shown to cause fungi, mold, and yeast to grow more abundantly, and it's also been shown in the particular case of mold to cause mold to be more toxic, many times more toxic, okay? And that's pretty much how I experienced this, okay? Fungi basically eat radiation, okay? So basically Candida eats radiation as an energy source. And so if you're being continually bathed in EMF exposure, if your EMF exposures are not safe and your body's struggling under them, you know, fungi can grow out of control in your body. Now, they say that in order for it to be a radiation-eating fungi, so a fungi that uses radiation as an energy source, it has to contain melanin and Candida albicans, which is the most common form of Candida yeast infections, etc., has melanin in it. Okay. Now, this also is a problem for people who have mold issues, okay? And if people have mold issues in their home. So if your home is being bathed in electromagnetic radiation, either because you have a ton of wireless devices, you're in a smart home with all these wireless, you know, appliances and security systems and everything, or if you have a cell tower or a small cell installation very close to your home, this can create toxic mold in your home and then in your body. Okay, so anyone who has problems with yeast, Candida, anyone who has problems with mold in their home or in their body, anyone who has problems with fungal infections, you have to look at the possibility of electromagnetic radiation exposure as an underlying cause. Okay. And then a secondary issue, if you're having these flares and these issues, you have to also look at the possibility of heavy metals toxicity as being an underlying cause for that. So I think that is about all I wanted to say in this video. I just really want to emphasize to people that action is required to make our homes and ourselves as safe as possible. With the 5G rollout the way that it is and the current placement of 4G, 5G towers, there's actually no way to make yourself completely safe unless you are living in some kind of a Faraday bubble all the time, right? So even taking EMF protection products with you when you leave the house can be an option. But basically, please consider Ethernet connections. Consider either not using a cell phone or just using it in cases of emergency. That's how cell phones were originally designed, right? They were basically like something you would take in your car if you were going on a road trip or something, right? That was kind of like when people would mostly use cell phones. The idea that like a cell phone is like another appendage and it's like never away from the person's, it's never not touching the person's body, it's never not touching the person's skin, it's never far away. People are sleeping right next to their phones, right? Again, this is a dangerous practice, and I really wish that would get out there more. If you're experiencing weird health symptoms, electromagnetic radiation exposure has to be number one on your list of things to combat or things to look into to try to alleviate the symptoms. And then secondarily, modified citrus, or something to remove heavy metals in your body. Like I say, modified citrus pectin is my go-to on that one, but I have to use a smaller dose than what they say. Okay. Now, I don't know if this has implications for example, graphene oxide, which has been shown to be included in the shots. That modified citrus pectin, again, may or may not help with removal of that in the body as well. So that's about it. And yeah, I hope that this video is helpful to people, because again, this information is not easy to find, but here it is.